Okay, welcome to Teching It Up with Mark. Today we're going to go through the 5.8 release notes for K2 or Nintex automation. You can find them here at help.nintex.com or just Google for K2 5.8 release notes. Let's see. Downloads always available. You'll still need a license anyways. New features. Localization. Nintex automation is now available in Arabic, French, German, Spanish languages, delivering fully localized automation experience. You can set design time and runtime translations language, allowing you to use the product in your preferred supported language. Cool. Just long time needed. Happy to see it there. And maybe in another video I'll test it out a bit. SharePoint. Nintex automation for SharePoint. Microsoft has announced a deprecation of SharePoint app add-in model, which is used to integrate with SharePoint Online. To continue using this product with SharePoint Online, you now need to migrate to a new SharePoint Nintex for K2 SharePoint solution. Let's see. So yes, that will have to be accounted for. SharePoint methods added to allow folder permissions and automation workflows. Add user groups permissions to folders, remove user groups permission to folders, stop inheriting, delete unique permissions, skip permissions. Great. So I have had to use custom brokers for that, and it's good to know that we don't have to do that anymore. List item, get permissions on list item by ID. Once again, that's something where we needed custom brokers before, now we don't have to. And same for documents. Workflow Designer. The Workflow Designer design time versioning is introduced with this version of the product. You now have the option to save a draft minor version of your workflow. You can manage minor and major versions from the designer and workflow design, allowing you to have a clean design time experience while all major versions are managed in management. Nice. Installer for enhancements and prerequisites when installing or upgrading. See the Nintex automation installation and configuration. What's new topic. Good. Anything to help there would be great. We'll take a look at the enhancements. Workflow Designer. The time interval boxes and such steps as task, timer, and call sub workflow have been enhanced to allow you to expand and collapse the boxes for ease of use. The Workflow Designer's dependency on customized AngularJS 1.6.4 has been removed, and Workflow Designer now uses Angular v16. Hopefully that helps with performance a bit. I believe that was the aim there. Behavioral changes. Changes in slider control. The minimum and maximum value properties of the control have been updated to negative, is that 5 million? 5 million to 5 million respectively. Okay, great. Deprecated functionality, InfoPath, IE11, Silverlight, and old 4.7. These have been deprecated for quite a while, so that would only be in consideration of moving from Black Pearl 4. Whatever, maybe. Considerations. No dependency issues. I think we can skip through these. Microsoft Active Azure Directory is now Microsoft Entra ID. Not really K2 related, but yes, I wish they would have named it that originally to avoid the confusion. And support for Silverlight. Okay, any known issues? Looks like this is due to 4.7. The first one, when you configure a specific custom workflow step for a single SQL Server instance and server object, the configuration panel allows you to select a service instance not linked in that specific custom workflow steps. I haven't really used too many custom workflow steps. I see the purpose for them, but most of the time, yeah, I think just using a normal service broker or smart object is sufficient. When using the new Nintex automation for SharePoint app to create a workflow and you select an item was deleted to start the workflow, an error occurred with the Windows Event Reviewer. To see this error, follow the steps, go to the event viewer, take a look at it, and then we find the error there. Resolution, restart the K2 service. Easy enough. Issue if your browser and K2 server is in a different regions and the K2 for SharePoint registration, wizard, or other smart object execution fail with the below error, then there might be a delay in synchronizing K2 Trust database with entity entries for your tenant across regions. Please log a support ticket. Okay, let's look at the bug fixes. Wow, there's quite a few of these. All right, so it includes all the fix packages from 5.7. The first one we went over, creating a custom workflow step. When changing the priority of a workflow task step to high, deploying the workflow, and then editing the task step again, an error occurs in the workflow console. When a view contains a work list control that has a due date column, the work list items cannot be sorted by due date at runtime. K2 service unable to start after changing the time zone and date format of the K2 server. Seems like this would only happen in development environments. Hopefully that's not happening too often. When upgrading from an earlier version of K2.5 to K2 5.6, the upgrade failed during the service configuration due to a .NET 6.0 change. When using a radio button list control on a form and creating a PDF from the save control as PDF, the radio button list control has a scroll bar is generating the PDF. Okay. Not sure about that one. When having multiple lines of text in a workflow's task instructions, the task wrap functionality did not apply. When searching for task in K2 management users task list by providing the workflow name, no task will return. When you select a control on a view that contains a rule, the rules for those control loads in the layout page of the K2 designer. When editing a control rule from this page and you finish, cancel, or close the rule designer, the view rules were displayed instead of showing you only the control rules. Okay. I didn't even know that was a bug. When setting the minimum and the maximum values of the slider control and using it at runtime, the control did not behave as expected. Package and deployment to create no smart objects were included in the package. When using a create reference step in a workflow load and the load without ID method of a SharePoint integration, setting smart objects in the workflow, way too specific. Haven't experienced that. When configuring a workflow task step, which conditionally assigns task to individuals or groups or a recipient rule, the group contained a user. The user could not open the task. Could be interesting. 500 internal error occurred when calling an OData v4 smart objects that have SQL stored procedures as the underlying data source. Okay. This could be an interesting one. An OAuth token required authorization error occurs in the workflow designer after refreshing the token for a SharePoint service instance. When editing a workflow containing a DocuSign steps with configured options for property, the property values were not set or missing. Okay. When using K2 for SharePoint, you use the SharePoint list smart object and execute the get list item by ID method. The column and values did not align. When using a send email steps in a workflow and changing the to field from anything else back to the originator, the FQN of the originator was used instead of the originator's mail. I think I have seen that before. Vulnerability issue fixed for REST Sharp. When using package deployment to deploy workflows on another environment, the current design time version was shown in Designer instead of the latest deployed version. When using the setup manager to reconfigure an installation, a system.exception error while checking if the application is ready to execute, system.null reference exception, object was not sent to an instance of an object. good to eliminate as many of those as possible. Intermittent 500 error occurred when trying to open workflow designer, a workflow from the designer. Okay, looks good. Not tons in this release, but happy to see things are updated. And there's a couple new features. Translation looks interesting. I'll try to do some further videos on those. Please like, comment, subscribe, and have a good day. Thank you.